Suzuki.
And I'm Griffin Doherty.
And this is
World History News.
World War I, a very tragic event that lasted from 1914 to 1918.
Let's send it off to Abel in the field, interviewing Corporal Himmelstas from All Quiet on the Western Front. A corporal from All Quiet on the Western Front.
Thank you, Griffin and Nathan. So here I'm here with Himmelstas in the trenches. So Himmelstas, please, give us some background information about yourself.
Well, I was born in a family with 3 people, and 2 of those were my sisters, so I didn't have a dad. So I constantly had to fight for food. I was constantly the only person hunting, and it really, really, really got on my nerves that my friends and my family didn't appreciate what I did for them.
Can you please tell us more about, like, maybe life in the trenches, how it was?
Everyone's a coward in the trenches. All they do is hide. They don't ever go over the top. They don't ever shoot. They're just a bunch of cowards. They're a bunch of liars. It's not even that bad. You get a nice warm meal on occasion. I'm fine. I survived. Everyone's just a bunch of cowards.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, of course, you're an instructor, of course.
Of course.
So can you please, tell us how you became, like, really strict towards the men?
Well, like I said, my family was really annoying and got on my nerves, so I thought the best way, just like with my family, was to throw a little discipline in there, just crack the whip a couple times. And it seemed to work, I had the lowest death rate out of all the drill instructors, and my soldiers did great. More of them were coming back, and they seemed to be doing fine. They were cowards, but I made them men.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it. Thank you for tuning in to this interview with Himmelstas and, learning about the life in the trenches, his background. So now back to you, Nathan and Griffin.
Hi, what's your name and what do you do?
I'm Franz List and I'm a World War I pilot.
When did you first see service?
I first saw service with Germany in 1914.
What was the battle called that you first saw service?
The Battle of the Marne.
Are you aware of who invented the plane?
I believe it was the Wright brothers in 1903.
Great. And how did planes first start off in the Great War?
They first started off as scouters because they couldn't do that much.
And how did they later evolve?
They later evolved into war machines with people strapping machine guns onto them. But before that, they had to throw rocks out of the planes and stuff like that.
Great, just a couple more questions. So during the First World War, is it true that there were no markings on planes, and do you have any stories about that?
Yeah, it was really hard to tell each other apart from the planes. There weren't many marking systems, so inevitably we shot down a lot of our friends.
Wow, and what are some examples of non-airplane aircraft used during the First World War?
We weren't able to fly, but I think we had this thing called the Zeppelin, which was filled with hydrogen, and it was used for observing the enemy and stuff like that.
Great, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
As for some facts about spies, over 6,400 Belgian and French refugees were employed by the British and French government to spy on German officials. As for the Germans, as far as intel collected, they were the most successful as far as that. On top of this, spies were known to be, the most famous ones were known to be prostitutes who would seduce men and get information out of them. Now, let's go to this.
And now, a World War I editorial. Soldiers join the war to bring honor to their country and families. They're told the service they're about to provide is one of glory and pride, that they'll be home by Christmas. They sign their lives away at recruitment centers. They're herded into trucks and driven away from their homes into foreign countries where drill sergeants spit in their face and reduce them to maggots. They're fed slop comparable to farm animals and sleep in frigid, overcrowded barracks. They're convinced the torment they experience here is to prepare them and is for nothing more than the good of their country. And they haven't even experienced the war yet. On the front lines, soldiers work, sleep, and live in their own waste. They watch their friends and brothers torn to shreds by shells and turned to mincemeat by machine gun fire. Crews of men are unable to haul off the mountains of rotting bodies among the living. The rats grow fat from feeding on the dead and often go for the living as well. Every man loses his identity as they march in the thousands and return in the tens, many never returning at all. They fight for their king and country, but their king has made nothing but false promises, and their country is who is sending them over the top of the trenches. Thank you. Now let's send it back to Nathan in the studio.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Nathan.
I'm Griffin.
And this is
World History News.